You've probably heard this saying, it's just not like it used to be, when referring to today's firefighters and recruits. Is that true? Do those who will be leading this fire service in 20 years have the motivation and passion now? Is their mission as clear today as it was yesterday? Will we ever recapture the days in which the company officer ruled the world? Here to address these questions is Chief Edward Buchanan. Eddie's a division chief with the Hanover, Virginia Fire and Rescue and EMS, and a 23-year veteran of the fire service. He's a former district chief and life member of the Henry Volunteer Fire Department. He's an adjunct instructor for the Virginia Department of Fire Programs and is an FDIC hot and classroom instructor. Chief Buchanan is the author of Volunteer Training Officers Handbook, published by Fire Engineering, and he serves on the board of directors for the Volunteer Combination Officers section of the IFC. And he's an FDIC hot instructor. And everyone who knows him can't be helped but be motivated by his passion for the fire service and fire service training. Here now to tell us how attitudes affect life in the fire service and how we as individuals have the power to lead with attitude and make a positive impact on our organizations. Please welcome Chief Eddie Buchanan.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Bill. First, let me say what a tremendous honor it is to have the opportunity to speak with you today. I'd like to welcome you to one of the most incredible educational experiences available. The FDIC has had a positive influence on me personally and my department over the years, and I trust that you'll find that experience valuable as well. Now, odds are as you walk the halls of the convention center, or maybe during one of the many evening networking opportunities here at FDIC, there'll be some discussion on the state of the fire service today. We'll share crazy stories, all these things that go on in our departments, and we'll reminisce about the days gone by and really, what it really meant to be a firefighter back when we came on the job. I mean, back when the company officer was God and the values of the fire service were strong and deep-rooted, even in the new recruits. But you know what? Even amidst all the horror stories that we might tell about our departments or whatever gripes we might have, I believe that our love of the fire service is strong now today more than ever. Sure, we might have our problems, and it's easy to feel like we're swimming in a muck of politics and staffing shortages and budget cuts, and there's always these knuckleheads that seem determined to dilute or strip the fire service of all the things that we hold dear. But folks, we're still here. Those of us in this room, and we hold the key to taking our fire service back, taking it back to the way it's supposed to be. A fire service where we take care of each other in spite of our internal differences. A fire service where we stand shoulder to shoulder, personally, tactically, and even politically. This is our fire service, and it's up to us to make sure the next generations understand the honor and responsibility of our job. And folks, that is all about attitude. Now, when I say attitude, what pops into your mind? I mean, the common definitions of attitude include a manner of carrying oneself or a feeling about an issue, but let's be real here for a minute. If I say firefighter Smith has a serious attitude, what does that mean to you? It means he's some kind of doolittle or something, right? But how is it that the concept of attitude got such a bad rap? Couldn't firefighter Smith having an attitude mean he's a go-getter? A guy who loves what he does and trains hard to make sure, both he and his crew are ready? I mean, it's just kind of funny how we just automatically default to the negative when we start talking about attitudes. So today, let's be different. Let's take a positive look at attitude. This morning, it's going to be all about you and me. Today, let's not focus on the things that we can't change, but let's look for ways that we can make a difference. I mean, how was your attitude today? And again, I'm not talking about that ringing in your ears from the networking last night. I mean, how were you on the job? The FDIC is famous for the vignettes they use to depict the challenges that we faced in our firehouse life. And in a little bit, you're going to meet some characters on the stage, just about every type. But which one will be like you? There's the firefighter who's always down on the department, the chief or the latest policy. Then there's those bobbleheads that hang around them like some kind of cartoon sidekick, you know, the two of those feeding off each other. There's the firefighter that just seems determined to break every rule and disgrace the uniform at every chance. But then there's that firefighter who's kind of quiet, you know, or maybe we're not sure why. Maybe it's just they found it better to shut up and do their job the best they can amidst all this chaos, most likely all the while hunting, you know, for a way out, either through a transfer or God forbid, a change altogether. And then you've got your company officer. Well, you're going to have your do-somethings, your do-littles, and your do-nothings there too. But let's do a gut check here for a minute. Where do we, you and I, where do we fit in this? The last policy or directive that came down that you didn't like or agree with, or those do-little people that act like flaming idiots most of the time, how do you deal with those situations? You know, I got to tell you, I was a little surprised to find my attitude compass needed a little bit of calibration. The more I actually listened to what I was saying and how I was acting, the more I actually realized how negative I was. I mean, I was the guy that when you'd ask me how things were going, I'd tell you about how awful my job was. I'd complain about my company, my division, my department included. But you know, I thought I was an all right guy, you know, until I realized through some serious mentorship that I was becoming the very thing that I thought I stood against. I mean, it just snuck up on me, you know. I've tried really hard for years to train to be professional, both as a volunteer and as a paid guy. So how did I wind up like this? You know, I've been very lucky, and I'm very proud to call Chief Rick Lasky of the Louisville, Texas Fire Department both a mentor and a friend. Rick is known for his stance. The fire service is the greatest job in the world, and if you don't like it, then get out, go do something else. And it took a mentor like Rick to get my head out of my Sector C, as he calls it, you know, and realize that, hey, he's right. What am I complaining about? And I always think back to the job I had before I was lucky enough to become a firefighter. And folks, let me tell you what, even on our worst day, on our darkest, just the most worst day in the fire service, I would much rather be a firefighter than anything else on earth. So think about it. Listen to yourself. You know, is your attitude calibrated truly due north? I mean, it's kind of easy to forget and drift, and before you know it, a negative attitude can kind of sneak up on the best of us, even if we think we're looking for it. Now, why is attitude so important? A good friend of mine, Scott Thompson, and I spent some time during another one of these networking opportunities here at FDIC discussing attitude, as many of you will do, and we actually came up with an article on the topic that Fire Engineering ran in 2004, in July of 2004. And we figured that attitudes are among the most influential tools in the company officer's toolbox for affecting change, not only in their own company, but throughout the entire department. I mean, have you ever thought about how much power attitude actually has? And I believe that attitudes are like open circuits, each swirling around, influencing or being influenced by others. I believe that if you put a group of people together, let's call it an engine company, there'll be a period of time when those people come together where the dominant personality or attitude will set the tone for the group, and the others will follow that lead. And you don't have to have rank to have the dominant attitude. You just need to be the dominant personality, the one that can withstand that. And for some reason, the negative attitudes always seem to have the advantage. I mean, great example, you ever had a great day at work, you know, where everything's just going awesome? You're driving home, you know, you're thumping on the steering wheel, singing to the car radio, looking like a complete knucklehead, you know. And you pull up in the driveway, and before you can even get your keys on the counter when you come in, bam, there goes a significant other. You know? Before you know it, you're running around yelling at the kids, you're all stressed out, chasing the dog around and stuff. I mean, what happened? 2 seconds ago, you were driving down the road singing, I don't know, Get Your Freak On or one of these songs at the top of your lungs, and the people at the stoplight next to you looking at you like you're some kind of crazy person, and now look at you. What happened? Just that short period of time. And this open circuitry can even affect the entire department. Scott and I called it in the article, we called it organizational attitude. If you think about it, departments can develop an organizational attitude. There are those departments that are known as aggressive, you know, go-get-em type fire attack departments, you know, and then there are those that they can't seem to find their butt with both hands. Think about it, the mutual aid departments that you run with. You know, there are ones that you'll think, man, thank God you're here. I'm glad to see you. And then there are those other departments that you'd almost rather return them to service than babysit. But you have to wonder, what are the other departments saying about us? But is it just the fire service, or do all businesses have similar challenges when it comes to attitude? I mean, what makes us any different than anybody else? We're really not that much different in some respects, but yet we have some uniquenesses, you know. I mean, shift work, downtime, diversity, just general human interaction for that matter are all breeding grounds for attitude issues. But we also have some really great stuff going for us as well. I mean, corporations wish they could capture our sense of family and brotherhood. When's the last time you saw a couple of insurance salesmen or lawyers call each other brother and take care of each other like we do? And it's this unique platform of family values that gives us the advantage to make attitude a positive influence in our organizations. I mean, many of us, we love our job. Career, volunteer, paid on call, whatever it is, we absolutely love it. And it's that love that gives us the ability to make change. In fact, we have a responsibility to make change. I once saw a professor write it that way. It's two words, response and ability, meaning we make a personal choice to make a difference. Each of us, you and me, we can choose to make a difference in our organizational attitude. We simply have to make up our minds and do it. Influence bad attitudes by overriding the circuit. Why is this so important? Well, bad attitudes breed mistrust, skepticism, rumors, all the things that kill morale and productivity and are truly at the root of many of the issues that trouble us today. You know, a common trigger for attitude issues stems from disagreement over the direction of the department. Everyone has an opinion on how they think things should go, and that's normal. But the hard part is to warm up to the idea of followership. Now, followership doesn't mean you have to bow down to the boss, kiss butt, and all that stuff. That's not it. It's more about understanding your scope of influence and working within it to make positive change. You have a choice in how you handle controversial situations when they come up. You can speak out against it negatively, you can just accept it, kind of suck it up, or you can work within the system to make change in a positive way. And only by recognizing your scope of influence and working within it effectively will that scope ever expand in the future. If I'm a lieutenant on an engine company, then is it my job to dictate departmental policy? No. And trust me, it is not as much fun as it looks. It's my job to serve the public the best I can with the resources that I have, within the rules, to take care of my crew and do it safely. I'm not going to agree with everything that comes down, but rather than focus on the things I don't like, I'll do the best I can to make change as I can within the system. Now, what we've been discussing so far is what human resources types call soft skills. Isn't it funny how something they call a soft skill can make such a big dent in our business? I mean, so let's talk about hard organizational skills and attitude for a minute. How's your attitude about safety these days? You heard mentioned this morning, and hopefully you've heard other places, that the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation held a summit in 2004 to create a 16-point initiative to reduce firefighter line-of-duty deaths. The number one initiative: define and advocate the need for cultural change within the fire service relating to safety, incorporating leadership, management, supervision, accountability, and personal responsibility. Folks, this is all attitude. In other words, we won't see a significant reduction in the line-of-duty deaths until we change the way we think, act, and feel about safety. Now, let's put this more into perspective. We all know that the U.S. Fire Administration issues an annual report on the line-of-duty deaths and injuries where they break the tragedies down by categories and percentages. But what would the numbers look like if attitude was listed as the contributing factor? I'm not talking about just our fallen brothers and sisters. I'm talking about us, the companies, the departments, the fire service as a whole. What would that number look like? I mean, failure to wear PPE and SCBA, failure to wear seatbelts, poor accountability, understanding building construction and fire behavior. It's all attitude. It's our attitude. I mean, truly, have you ever thought about it? Our attitudes towards safety can hurt or kill our brothers and sister firefighters. Folks, that makes attitude a weapon, a deadly weapon. And you know, the fire service was literally built on values like courage and bravery. But isn't it kind of ironic that we can muster the courage to run into a burning building, and I mean grinning from ear to ear the whole time we're doing it, but yet we seem to struggle to find the courage to make a stand on issues like safety because it goes against the cultural norms. In other words, we'd rather take the beating on the fire ground than the beating we get in the firehouse from our buddies for making a stand on safety. Again, that's all attitude. And if attitude affects safety, then surely it affects service delivery as a whole. I mean, are you doing everything you can do for your customer? You know, I actually heard a firefighter in a supposedly progressive department say, if I hear somebody say customer service one more time, I'm going to puke. And I have to wonder, is this a simple misunderstanding because we use, the terminology, we use the term customer, or did this guy completely miss the point? Folks, this is a customer service business, no matter how you look at it. It's not a club, it's not a fraternity, it's not it's not a hobby, any of that stuff. If you're that unhappy or out of touch with the mission, then truly, why hang around and make everybody miserable? We are in the business that... We're in the business of helping others, truly not riding around looking cool in the trucks. You know, a while back, I walked into my old station from back in the day, and one of the firefighters there asked me a question. I'll never forget it. And at first, he was kind of reluctant, but I could kind of tell he had something on his mind. So I came right out and asked him. I said, hey, man, what's wrong? He says, Chief, where'd all the pride go? We don't seem to have the pride in what we're doing like we used to. And my response to him was really simple, and it truly wasn't because I was quick-witted. I just couldn't think anything better to say. I said, I don't know, what do you have to be proud of? And he had nothing to say. And it didn't hit me until later. I was driving down the road, and truly, to have pride in something, you must have worked to get it. My father taught me a lesson about pride and work ethic years ago. I must have been 8, maybe 10 years old or something. But you have to understand, my father's a great big guy, former Marine. Nobody's a former Marine. And he undoubtedly one of the hardest working men I've ever known. Very quiet, very caring, very firm, but had a hand like a tennis racket, But it's one of these hot summer weekends, and like a lot of you, that means cutting the grass as a kid, And usually we would split up, and I would do some of the parts, and my father would do the others. But this particular day, he had something else to do, so I'm out there working by myself. And I'd see my dad coming in and out. I'd even catch him watching me as I'm out here working in the heat. Well, after a few minutes, I'm cussing him under my breath, the whole time while I'm working. Not only did I have to cut the entire yard, trim, and weed eat, and folks, I'm not talking about the gas-powered weed eater. I mean those hand clipper jobs where you have to get down there and clip, 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 clip. Well, by the end of the day, I hated him. I mean, he left me out there all day while he's in there piddling in the garage. When I was done, wouldn't even speak to him. Put the tools away in the garage, walked right past him, out the door without saying a word. And he knew I was hot. But he catches me in the driveway. He says, son, come here. He says, I know you've been working all day in the yard. I know, I've been watching you. Thanks, Dad. But he says, I want to show you something, come here. So he walks me out to the street and we look back at the yard. We look at it and he says, doesn't that look great? Yeah, it does. It looks good. He said, no one can ever take that away from you, son. You did that. You can forever be proud of it. Like, who knew? It's like a secret dad lesson or something. And, I really didn't get it at the time, but now that I look back at that moment, it helped shape who I am today. So what are you proud of in your fire service? What have you worked hard for? Pride comes from sweat. If we're going to really make a change, we're going to have to work at it, and we're going to have to work at it hard. But what can we do as individuals? Well, you can do everything. Attitude starts out as it's an individual sport. Remember the open circuits. The first step is to recognize that the circuit is there and make a conscious choice to dominate with a positive attitude. I'm not saying you have to be the bright, cheery guy all the time, but you can be positive. As a company officer, you can ensure a non-intimidating workplace. Now, sure, we have to play our jokes and do our things with the rookies. I know that. But there are limits as to what's acceptable. I mean, my department, We recently experienced a situation where a supposed initiation got out of hand and somebody actually got hurt. Now I have to ask you, in these situations, where are the adults? Where are the supervisors? Where are the leaders? More than that, where is the honor? Where is the integrity? Where is the professionalism? We have a duty to protect each other. When you let these things get out of hand, I believe you condone the behavior, even if you don't actively participate, and you bring disgrace on the uniform that we love and die for. And pardon my honesty, folks, I'm personally offended by that. We have to be careful of the line between a little fun and hazing. I mean, our culture is one of family and teamwork, and absolutely you must pay your dues. But we have to avoid letting it get personal or worse. I mean, treat your new recruits and your people with respect and dignity. They truly are the future of the fire service and one of our most valuable resources. I mean, as instructors, we learn about teaching using demonstrations and emulating behaviors and leading by example and all these things. But what message do we send our new recruits if we attack them verbally or physically? I want my new recruits to go out and help people, regardless of their race, their beliefs, their personal situation, even somebody they might view as a lesser citizen. So how am I teaching them to treat such a person if I'm verbally abusive to them? I mean, yes, we're paramilitary in structure, but we're not teaching our recruits to fight and kill. I mean, there is a difference. If you're still bashing your recruits, it's time to stop. You can still have discipline. You can hold the bar higher than ever. I mean, all the disciplines, the push-ups, the formations, and all that stuff, and you can still say yes, sir, and ma'am, and you can even smile on occasion while you're doing it. Talk to your people. Find out what their aspirations are. And firefighters don't tend to run around, hold hands, and sing together and stuff. But it's important that you engage your people on a personal level. You get a new rookie in the firehouse, or even anybody who's there, ask them about their goals. I mean, find out what your people like to do and use that when you can. Not to say you get the pipe every day, but you can be sensitive to their motivations. I mean, which one wants to be an officer one day? Which one wants to be the chief? You open to that one-on-one dialogue with your people. Actually find out their likes and dislikes. I mean, call it close quarter, hand-to-hand leadership if you want to. Another key component to fostering a positive attitude is transparency. Now, this one is a tough subject for some departments because it goes against every thread of the organizational culture. I mean, if we took the time to ask our people how they feel about the department, many would say, I just like to know what the hell is going on. I mean, what is the big secret? It's not like we have launch codes or some kind of top secret information or anything. I mean, why is there this culture of secretive policy making and access? I believe it's a combination of culture, lack of motivation from management, and in some cases, outright insecurity. I mean, we have to let our folks know what's on the horizon. I mean, long term, this helps to build trust and capitalize on the intellectual capital of the whole organization rather than just the top brass. And folks, these trumpets, they don't make you any smarter. You're going to have to rely on your people and get their input to be successful in tomorrow's fire service. Build a culture of family and brotherhood. It's vital that our new recruits earn the title of firefighter. You don't get to be a firefighter just by throwing on a t-shirt. You earn it through training and understanding and embracing our values as your own. I mean, training means much more than just these written and skills tests that they have to do. I mean, take the time to teach your people about the history of the fire service and where we've been. Put faces to the names of the firefighters who made the ultimate sacrifice so that they understand what's at stake here. Give them the whole picture, not just what they say we have to do to fill in all the check boxes. Truly, the influence of attitude is a tremendous and powerful tool. It's the key to organizational change, and it's accessible to everyone, regardless of rank. Those of us in this room, those of us who teach firefighters, and there's a lot of us here, we understand that, like it or not, we leave a legacy with every firefighter we train. Think about it. Most of us in this room can remember vividly the lead instructor that taught us our basic firefighting. We remember the good, the bad, the funny quirks. We remember the passion for the job. I can still see the faces in my head today. So how do I make change in my organization as a training chief? I do it 30 people, one class at a time. I can't influence everybody, but I can influence my recruits. As a company officer, maybe you can't influence the entire department, but you can influence your company and the companies that you run with. As a firefighter, you can't influence everyone for sure, but you can influence your company. You can even influence your officer. The influence of attitude, remember, it runs both vertically and horizontally. So how do you overcome negative attitudes in your organization? You take it back. You take it back to where the focus is on helping others in quality service. You take it back to where it's about being a family and actually earning the title of firefighter, truly becoming a brother or sister. You take it back to training, where you're judged in this business by what you know, not who you know. Thomas Paine was a pivotal, an inspirational writer during the Revolutionary War. He had a great quote. He says, "The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. 'Tis dearness only that gives everything its value. I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. It is the business of little minds to shrink, but those whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves his conduct will pursue his principles unto death." So what will make this year different? Every year we gather here in this big room and we talk, and we go back to our departments, and you know what, after a while, it's just talk. This year I bring you a challenge. It stops right here today. Each of us must make a personal choice to change. And we have this crazy power to change the culture of the fire service. Us in this room. The hard part is to take ownership of that challenge and actually make something happen. It's way too easy to wait and let someone else make the difference. And folks, not until we stand together to protect our fire service and each other, our brother and sister firefighters, paid, volunteer, whatever, and stand behind our department so that no one ever dare drag our fire service colors through the mud again, will anyone ever start to listen or care. I know we don't always agree on everything, but let's agree on that. So go back to your departments and lead with attitude. You can take it back. You can take our fire service back so that the generations to come can love it like we do. Take it back so that at the end of the day, we know that everybody goes home. Next year, when we sit in this room, let us look at each other in the eye and know that we've done something that really made a difference, something great. Let us look at each other with pride and honor for the things that we've done. A few minutes ago, you heard Bill Manning say, for us to do this, we have to believe. We have to believe. I want to be the first one to stand up right here in front of everybody and say, Bill, I believe, buddy. I'll be there. Now, I ask this question of everybody in this room, everybody sitting in here. What will you do? I thank you for your time this morning. Be safe. Enjoy the conference.